Thank you. Senator Thompson, your first year.
Well, it wouldn't take me a year. I'd go before the American people and tell them the truth and try to establish my credibility and tell them that we haven't come to terms yet with the nature of the threat that we're facing or what we're going to have to do to defend ourselves over the years. I'd tell them that if they didn't already know it, we're bankrupting the next generation and nobody even wants to talk about it, much less do anything about it. I'd tell them that judges are setting our social policy now in this country and that's going to stop. And then I'd bring in members of Congress and say, look, I just got a mandate. We can work and cooperate together or I'll go over your head to the American people.
Governor Romney?
I want to do more than talk in my first year. There are a lot of things I want to get done. First of all, I want to establish a strategy to help us overwhelm global jihad and keep the world safe. I want to end illegal immigration. We can get that done. I want to end the expansion growth of entitlements, rein them in. I want to end the extraordinary growth in federal spending, and I want to keep our tax burden down and reduce our tax burden on middle-income families. I want to get us on a track to become energy independent. I want to get our schools on a track so they can become competitive globally, and I want to get health insurance for every citizen in America. It's going to take 4 years for that to happen, but I'll get us on track in that. We'll have a stronger military, a stronger economy, and stronger values with stronger families after my first year in office.
Governor Huckabee.
Well, I like the laundry list that everybody's had, and I would agree that every one of those things is important. Reality is none of that's going to happen until we bring this country back together. I think the first priority of the next president is to be a president of all the United States. We are right now a very polarized country, and that polarized country has led to a paralyzed government. We've got Democrats who fight Republicans, liberals fighting conservatives, the left fights the right. Who's fighting for this country again? And somehow, we've got to quit even fighting among ourselves as conservatives and as Republicans and start putting the better interest of this nation. If that doesn't happen, we'll get none of these things done. We've got to be the united people of a United States, and a president has got to somehow remind us that we are a great, resilient nation that has to stick together to solve all of these problems.
Senator McCain.
Our first obligation and my qualifications lend to making America safe. We must make America safe. This is a military, diplomatic, intelligence, and cyberspace challenge. And I have the credentials and the knowledge and the background and the judgment to do that. The second most important thing, if we're going to complete that laundry list, is restore trust and confidence in government. There is none today. We have to fix Medicare. We have to stop this wasteful pork barrel spending that has led to corruption in Washington. Of course, we have to fix our borders. We have to sit down together and fix Medicare and Social Security. But I can lead, I can inspire confidence and restore trust and confidence in their government again. That's the key to any success we want to achieve.
Ambassador?
Well, what I would concentrate on is restoring the sovereignty of the people of this country. I would restore their moral sovereignty. It's just something I think I can do very simply as president by declaring that no action taken by the executive branch would support, aid, or abet anyone who is destroying the constitutional rights of those who are in the womb. I would sign an executive order to that effect day one, and we would reestablish this government's commitment to the constitutional rights of our posterity. These folks talk about our posterity, but you can't really respect them if you're killing them in the womb. It doesn't make any sense. And I would also want to abolish the income tax. And you say, well, can't be done in a day? We need to start talking about it and talking about actually implementing the fair tax proposal that will end the wasteful spending by putting them under the discipline of a people who can actually withhold their taxes by changing their patterns of spending. And finally, I would establish a national border guard. I would seal the borders of the United States so that only those would cross our borders who are subject to our laws and the terms of those laws. And I would encourage through this national border guard a real respect for the security that must be maintained along that border if we're serious about the war on terror.
We're going to move to the last three candidate statements. Governor Romney has 30 seconds, followed by Mr. Keyes, and finally Mayor Giuliani.
I want to begin by saying thank you to the people of Iowa. Over the last year, my wife and I visited many, many homes, many places, over 70 town meetings, 67 counties. Josh, my son, has visited all 99 counties. People here have warm hearts. They've welcomed us, and it's something that's made me feel very good about America. Anybody who's worried about the future of this great land just needs to come to Iowa, meet the people with the kind of heartland values that you have here. People here also recognize we face real challenges, and they want somebody who will strengthen America. I know how to keep America strong. I know a lot about the economy. I'll make sure we keep good jobs. I learned a lot about education and health care. I'll improve our schools, get our health care system working for all Americans, and I'll make sure that we have the kind of values that we can be proud of that are so essential to the great strength of this nation. And finally, I want to say to the people of Iowa, I need your help. I'd like your vote. I want you to get out and participate in that caucus. Thank you.
Mr. Keyes?
I think that the critical thing is what you need to do. If you really want to see a change in government, then we need to restore the credibility of the Republican Party. A credibility that has been destroyed by the betrayal of promises to keep government limited that resulted in outrageously high budget deficits at a historic level in this country. The betrayal along the border, with the president telling us that he suddenly discovered we didn't have a secure border 6 years into his term. And if you want to accomplish that, join the political army of America's revival at AlanKeyes.com and make sure you become part of that change. We're not going to restore self-government until you become an active people, not willing to take the inadequate choices you have, but lifting up the choice that this country needs.
Thank you. Mayor Giuliani.
I've been tested by having to provide leadership through crisis, through difficult crises, not just September 11, but in my time as United States Attorney, Associate Attorney General, Mayor of New York City. And America needs bold leadership. We have big problems. We have problems that we haven't faced in the past and solved. Problems about how to deal with terrorism effectively, problems about our border, problems about our economic security that we've talked about. And to do that, we need bold leadership. We need the kind of ideas that I've put forward in the 12 commitments to the American people. But most importantly, we need an optimistic leader who can bring us these kinds of solutions. I've gotten results in the past. I would like the opportunity to do that for my country.
Thank you. We're going to shift gears a bit. Voters have told us that character and leadership qualities matter as much or more than many issues. Over the past few months, we asked candidates who have spent time in Iowa about some of their core values, and we videotaped the answers. Since we're pitching websites, you can see all the Insights videos at DesMoinesRegister.com, but today we're going to see a few of them and then expand the conversation. Let's watch the first ones.
And I would do this as president. When I was mayor of New York, I would go get people's opinions. I'd go walk the streets, I'd sit down in a restaurant, I'd ask people what they think, I'd go on radio, have them do a call-in show. I did 96 town hall meetings. It was all for the purpose of hearing what people had to say. Because maybe, even with multiple sources of advice within government, maybe if you don't hear from the people every once in a while, you get a wrong perspective.
Legislation is a function of compromise. And when you put together a budget, for example, a budget to increase defense spending, and that budget which increases defense spending may have also pork barrel programs that you don't like, and you promised your constituents you'll fight against pork barrel programs. In the end, if you vote for the budget of the United States, you vote for a lot of things.
The internet is delightful. It is just delightful for finding the information. And if there's a question that I need, ask. You can find it. So I spend a lot of time getting information that was at one time in my life was very difficult to find. There should be no excuse in this country anymore for not finding correct answers and analyzing the problems that we face, because the correct answers are out there and judgment should be made to the best of one's ability.
So this next set of questions is entirely about character and leadership. Mayor Giuliani, your administration in New York has been accused of handling your security expenses in a way that obscured public disclosure. What specifically will you promise to do to ensure that a Giuliani White House is open with information that might be inconvenient to explain to the public?
Well, the reality is that all that information...
30 seconds, please.
The reality is that all that information was available and known to people, known 6 years ago. And I would make sure that government was transparent. My government in New York City was so transparent that they knew every single thing I did, almost every time I did it. So I would be extremely open. I'm used to it. I'm used to being analyzed. I haven't had a perfect life. I wish I had. And I do the best that I can to learn from my mistakes. But as far as, open, transparent government, I think I've had both an open, transparent government and an open, transparent life, and it allows you to lead then with honesty and truth.
So are there things you could have done in this situation that would have been more open and not raise these concerns about obscuring public disclosure?
No, the reality is that this was a bookkeeping practice The way it was done actually made it more available to Freedom of Information Act requests. Had it been done just in the police department, nobody would have ever found it. And everything that was laid out a few weeks ago had been laid out 6 years ago. Very well known. Some of it things that I wish, if I had led a perfect life, would have happened differently, but it was all very well known. And on the issue of transparency, I can't think of a public figure that's had a more transparent life than I've had.
Mr. Keyes, how would you guarantee an open White House?
I think the most important thing is